I'm going to go ahead and click record right now, and I'll put this recording, whatever we talk about. So if 2 days from now you say, Hannah, what was that? What was that question Hannah asked? She asked something. I'll put the recording. So I'm recording this as well. Okay. And there's the PowerPoint. Okay. And then if you guys ask me any questions and stuff that here, I'll try to add something on Moodle if there's something that's really confusing. So chapter 1, we're good so far for now. You have a week to email me any questions. Okay. Chapter 2 and 3 were those parts of speech. Oh boy. Okay. So know those four, the four major parts of speech, I hope, are the ones that give you the least amount of trouble. Those are the ones that usually are more clear in students' minds. And then those minor parts of speech. And there was still a bit of confusion, rightfully so, with adverbs, because again, if you learned it in previous English classes, right, and you go on the internet and you look up what is an adverb, and you go to YouTube and watch some Khan Academy videos or something, they're going to include a lot of words that we're not including as adverbs, okay? Because the typical definition of an adverb is, well, an adverb does this, or it can do this, or it can do that. And we're sort of breaking apart those functions and putting them into different categories instead of having this big, huge, vague umbrella term. Because traditionally, the term adverb is like, well, it's not a noun, it's not an adjective, it's not a verb, so just throw it in the junk drawer. We'll call it an adverb. And we're just going to throw everything in this big category called adverb. Okay, so that's the one you want to probably focus on for chapter 2. And then chapter 3 was those minor parts of speech. And try not to get confused between them. Okay. And then chapter 4 and 5, we're putting those words into phrases. Okay, so, for example, okay, I can have a noun, right? And I look at it and I know it's a noun. It's a person, place, or thing. And it's one word and exists by itself. And that one noun can make up a noun phrase by itself. So one thing that you really want to kind of keep in the back of your mind is that a phrase can be made up of one word. So phrases don't have to be 2 or more words. So a plural noun like cats. Cats is a noun. Cats can be a noun phrase by itself. Plural nouns, I love cats. Cats are awesome. Okay. Whereas somebody wrote me a poem about Whitney. Was it Whitney? You wrote me a poem about cats?
That was me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was with
Whitney likes cats, or Whitney has cats. That's it, right? So I don't need it. Plural nouns in English can exist as a noun phrase. But now you can say the cats, Whitney's cats, her cats, those cats, but you don't have to, right? You can just say cats. So you can have a noun, okay? But yeah, I can also put a determiner and a noun. Like if I have the singular cat, right? English grammar dictates that you must put a determiner before cat. I cannot have a singular count noun floating around by itself. It has to be a cat or the cat. And what kind of determiner is this? Anyone? What are the un, or the? What are those 3 little words called?
Article.
Articles, right? So you can have an article, right? Or, right? What if it's that cat or this cat. That's a determiner. What kind of determiner is that? There are 4 of them. This, that, these, those. 4 little words. Does anybody know what do we call? The test question. Okay. Okay. Those are demonstratives. Okay. So they work like a cat, the cat, but they tell me the position of the cat relative to whoever's speaking, right? It's this cat right here specifically, or it's that cat over there across the street, right? This, that, these, those. Those are your demonstratives. Okay. What else can I put in front of cat? So I can have a cat, the cat, this cat. Okay.
His cat, her cat.
Oh, good. What's that?
Pronoun.
What kind of pronoun?
Possessive.
Okay. Its cat doesn't make much sense, but his, her, our, my. What did I get? There should be 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there are 7 of them. Okay. Okay. These are, we want to label these specifically as possessive, right? Because these are determiners. Your, his, her, our, their, its, my will always come before a noun, right? They exist as a pair, right? What happens if I, so again, Whitney loves, okay, her cats. Okay. Again, I can put her cats. Sorry, my handwriting. But what if I take away the cats? Whitney loves hers. Why do I do that? Okay. I love my cats. Again, what happens if I take away the cats? I can't have that my there by itself, right? Can't have it. It becomes mine. Those are your pronouns, right? Mine is a pronoun. My is a possessive. My cannot exist on its own. It can't be a noun, right? It goes before a noun. That's why it's in the class of determiner, okay? So when we're labeling, if you had a sentence, I will not give you this sentence on the test because I don't want to torture you, right? But if I gave you the sentence mine, you would label that as a noun, a pronoun, right? But if I had my car, you would label that as a possessive. If you want to label as a possessive pronoun, okay, but we need a different label for that because mine exists by itself, right? My needs to be before a noun. So that's why we have it's in a different word class. It functions differently. Okay. Does that make sense? I hope. A little bit. Okay. Remember, determiners have to come before a noun. So if I use the word my what? My car, my cat, my children, my house. I need something. My hair. What are we talking about here, right? I need something after the word my. Okay. What else can we have? We're talking about cats. Cats. Some cats. Many cats. Several cats. What's this? How many cats? Some. Many. Several. So what are these words called? They tell me the quantity of cat. Okay. Right? That's your quantifier, right? Again, you'll always have a quantifier plus something. Okay? They're the determiners, quantifier. Okay? There's one more determiner. There were 5. So again, if I had the word cats, we said I can have an article, the cat. I can have a demonstrative, these cats, a quantifier, some cats, possessive, his cats. What's the 5th choice there? What's something I can put in front of cats?
Her,
What's that?
her,
Er? Her?
yeah, her.
Okay, that would go right here, right?
A proper noun.
Okay, good.
Like a name or something.
Pete's cats. Okay. Of course, this is not a determiner now. That is a noun. That's a proper noun. So we're just talking about determiners right here, right? I have this, we're kind of in this. There's one more thing. Okay, some cats, Mr. Aaron, how many cats? Be specific, not some, several. How many? Whitney, how many cats do you have?
So like 5 cats.
3. Oh, yeah.
5. So the last determiner is a number. You can put a number. So numbers are determiners, right? 5 cats, 15 cats. Okay. 1 cat. Okay. So these are your determiners, right? Your 5 determiners. Okay, your 5 choices. So if I tell you to write your own sentence with a determiner plus a noun, oh, well, then you have a lot of choices there, right? You can go wild. Okay. If I tell you to label the word and one of your choices as a, I will tell you on the test, you can label something as a determiner, then all of these words, not Pete's, right? Not this guy, but all of these words would be, you could label it as a determiner. And it would go in front of the noun cats, and there's your, it would be a noun phrase. The cat, these cats. Okay. Any question before we move on from this one? Know your determiners. Okay. What if I have a determiner? I could put an adjective phrase. Okay. So now I have the cats. Can someone describe these cats for me? What kind of cats do we have?
Fluffy.
Okay. And again, you can have one adjective by itself, making up an adjective phrase. I could have 2 adjectives. Give me another adjective. Fluffy.
Rambunctious.
You're gonna make me, I can't fit that in here. I have to go. You can have 2 adjectives in your adjective phrase. I mean, you could have theoretically 7 or 8 adjectives if you wanted to go crazy. The fluffy, cute, cuddly, rambunctious, black and white spotted. I mean, you can go crazy, right? 2-year-old cats, whatever. So you can have 1 adjective, 2 adjectives, or you could tell me they were very fluffy. What's this word? Not an adjective.
Adverb.
It's not describing a verb. It's describing an adjective. It's telling me how fluffy. How fluffy are they? Somewhat fluffy. Pretty fluffy. So fluffy. Very, very fluffy. That's your qualifier, okay? Okay. These are the words that if you go on most of the internet, they'll say they're adverbs, right? So the traditional definition of adverb, right? If you go online, it says, what is an adverb? Adverbs can describe verbs, right? Sorry, I have to get rid of this window. He drives the car carefully. Adverbs can describe adjectives, like very fluffy. And then my favorite, adverbs can describe other adverbs very carefully. Okay. But in this class, we're kind of looking, I want you to look at that skeptically and tell me, when you're writing a sentence or you're talking, is the word carefully performing the same function as very? Are they doing the same thing? Okay, and I hope you see that the answer is no, right? Carefully is describing a verb. So that's what we're going to call adverbs, if they're describing a verb. These other things, that's what we're going to call qualifiers. Okay, so you have an adverb already, or you have an adjective already, and we are telling you how fluffy or how carefully, right? So those are words like, what do we got? Very. What else? He was driving very carefully. So, two. And can anybody throw in a couple others?
Barely.
Barely? Barely. Okay. These are the ones that mess you up, right? Because dang it, why is that? That has an ly. Barely carefully. Okay. Again, this could be an adjective too. Very hot, so hot, too hot, barely hot. Okay. Those are qualifiers. Okay. So if I have a qualifier plus an adjective, right? That's going to be an adjective phrase. They go together. Very hot. Okay. Too quiet. Okay. So difficult. Okay. Those are my adjective phrases. And then that adjective phrase can go between a determiner and a noun and make a noun phrase. The very cuddly cats, right? That would be the very cuddly cats. Anybody ready for Halloween? How many of you have seen one of the Halloween movies? How many of you were traumatized by a Halloween movie, watching it a little too young? It's one of those movies I debate. Should I show my kids? How long should I wait? Okay. What's Michael Myers? What am I going to label this as?
Noun.
What
Proper.
kind of noun?
Proper.
Okay. Right. And then again, that's a noun phrase right there. Okay. Again, I like to label it proper noun because we have a difference between a name like Mike, which would be a proper name, and then a common noun like student. They're both nouns, yes, but a noun, just a regular noun like student, can have a determiner. The student, a student, one student, my student. But can I say the mic? My mic? I mean, sometimes people say, right? It's like if it's your husband or boyfriend or someone, that's my mic. Okay. We're doing that. We're being ungrammatical for some emotional purpose. But normally the mic, a mic, no, right? We don't usually put a determiner. So that's why we're going to label it a little different. We want to show that it's a proper noun. It's not just a regular, ordinary, everyday noun. Any questions about nouns? Oh, yeah. Give me a verb.
Run.
Run. There's a verb. And by itself, right? I run. The most boring sentence in the world. I run. Run is a verb, and it's a verb phrase. Right? Verbs can exist. Again, you can have one single individual word making up the. Ooh, someone just showed up. Let me let them in if I can figure out. Where are they? Okay, I run. What can I add in front of, behind I run? Quickly. Well, what's that? It's our good friend.
Adjective.
It's describing I or describing run.
Adverb.
Aha, okay. That's our good friend, the adverb. And now we have both of these things together making up the verb phrase. So I have a verb phrase with a verb and an adverb. Okay. Okay. And actually we'll call that an adverb phrase because again, it's just by itself. It's just by itself. It's an adverb phrase, but it doesn't have to be by itself, right? He ran, again, very quickly. So again, we said that's an adverb. And what is this guy again?
Adjective. Adverb? No. It starts with a D.
Quabity. Quabity. Qualifier. Okay. So now those two things make up an adverb phrase together. Okay. And then the verb and the adverb phrase together make up the verb phrase. Okay. Okay. Qualifier. Okay. What if instead of run, it's walk, and I'm walking the dog? Now what do I got? We can clearly see this is one thing and this is another thing. Okay, what do we call this thing? Well, we got a verb. What do we got here? The dog. Dog.
Noun.
The.
Article.
Okay, an article, which is a determiner, right? An article is one kind of determiner. But we can see that the dog is one piece, right? That's why we stick them together as a noun phrase. But we can see as well, right? If it said, you know, they walk the dog, we can clearly see that they is one piece and this whole thing is also one piece. What do? They walk the dog. So this verb and this noun phrase will go together to be a verb phrase. Okay. So again, we're just, these tree diagrams, these little diagrams are just visualizing what we already know, right? What you already know, right? You know, just from being English speakers, that this is one piece, they, I, he, she, and this is all one piece as well, right? You know that you've got a noun phrase and a verb phrase. I've got two pieces, right? But then you know here, this verb phrase, walk and the dog, that's, we can cut that in half. That's two pieces. I've got a verb and a noun phrase, right? And the dog, I can cut that. And I've got a determiner. So that's just what we're doing here. We're visualizing which pieces go together, right? Where can we cut the sentence? Okay. What else do we got? What if it's they, oops, they are walking the dog? What's this? Let's label it. They.
Possessive
Oh.
pronoun.
Possessive?
Pronoun.
Just a pronoun. It's a regular run of the mill. It's your subject pronoun. They, I, he, she. Okay. What's this?
Verb.
Verb. Okay. Now here we have another verb, but we've got this little guy. So we're going to label it something else. What do we call those ing verbs in the grammarians?
Base.
Base form would be just walk. The base form of the verb is your dictionary entry, right? If you're going to look up the word walk in the dictionary, it's going to be walk. That's what we mean by base form. So when you think of the base form of the verb, that's like the dictionary form of the verb. Walking is called a present participle. Okay, all of your ing verbs, they're called present participles. And we knew from a previous example, we had a noun phrase, right? But again, all of this we know makes up one piece, right? That's all a piece. Okay. This is what we're getting into now in chapter 6, we start talking about what do we call this piece? Yes, it's a pronoun. And what do we call this piece? Yes, it's a verb phrase, but what is its grammatical role? What is that pronoun doing in the sentence? Well, it's the subject of the sentence. What's that verb phrase? What do we call that? What's it doing? Subject, verb. You guys have learned this already. I'm sure at least one of you have had to sit through some high school grammar class. Ugh.
The action in the sentence.
What do we call it? The subject is doing something. What is the subject doing?
Is it predicate?
Predicate. Thank you. Yeah. Right. Okay. The predicate, of course, is going to be a verb phrase, right? The subject has to be doing or being something. There has to be a verb. If there's no verb, you're not talking. You're not communicating. There's always a verb. So the predicate will always have a verb in it, always be a verb phrase, right? And the subject is, I'm not going to say always, the subject is usually a noun phrase, right? Most of the time. It's going to be a pronoun, a noun, a proper noun, who or what you're talking about, okay? So at your most basic sentence, when you're looking at just a simple sentence, already you should be thinking in your mind, that at the end of my tree, I'm going to have noun phrase, verb phrase, right? Unless you have a weirdo, complicated sentence, and I'm not going to give you long, complicated sentences to draw diagrams of. Most of your diagrams should end with a subject and a predicate. So that's what it's going to look like, right? Then you might have branches where we start breaking those apart, but the end of your tree will probably, not always, but probably be a noun phrase and verb phrase. It's your subject and predicate. Okay. What about to walk? Aha. There's my dictionary word. There's my base word. What's this little guy?
Preposition.
Huh? There are only two things that can be preposition, and it's not a preposition. So what is it? What is this? What do we call this kind of verb? Come on, guys. It looks like this.
Infinitive.
Okay, your infinitive verb. An infinitive verb is always going to have the infinitive marker, which is to, plus a base verb, right? The infinitive verb in English is to walk, to go, to be, or not to be, okay? To read, to write, that's the infinitive. The infinitive has that word to in it, okay? To walk, so we know we've got a verb. I see a verb, I know I've got an infinitive, right? And that's your base form of the verb. Okay, yeah, that's not a verb. Sure looks like a noun phrase to me. So what's this? Somebody already said it earlier.
Which word? Which word? Which word?
To.
Oh, infinitive marker?
The second to.
Preposition.
This to is a preposition, right? Okay, we have, you know how when you're a little kid and you first learn, oh crap, we've got 3 twos in English. Well, little did you know now that this one is actually, there's two more twos. There's to walk, to the store. This messes up my students all the time. They go, Mr. Aaron, I want to go to the mall. Is this right? What the heck? Okay, again, right? To go, that's an infinitive verb. That's a verb. This is a prepositional phrase, right? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? This tells me where, gives me a location. It's preposition. Right? So one thing to keep in mind, if you see the word to followed by a noun phrase, that's going to be a preposition. To the store, to the mall, to Miami, to France, okay, to the party. If you see to plus that verb, the base verb, that's your infinitive. To go, to do, okay, to ride, to read. Different, it's different. Different two. Oh my God, two. Okay. Any questions? This is a big one. This was on one of the quizzes or homeworks. I asked you to identify the two. Which one's which? What's going on? Okay. What about could run? Let's go get some exercise. What do you want to do? Well, we could run. We could swim. We could go to the gym. What is this word? And we know that that's a verb. What's could? Can.
Modal.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Could, would, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Could, would, should, can, will, shall. Shall we run? Okay, modals. Okay. Can I say we could run? Is
No.
that good? No, right? Could I say, can I say we could running?
No.
Right? I don't like that. English grammar is getting really specific here. We could ran.
No.
No, we don't like that. So we can see English grammar tells me if I have a modal, I must have a base verb. You can't have any other form of the verb. And so we're going to label it like that. Okay. Just like to run, if it's an infinitive, I can't say two runs, two ran, two running. It means to run, could run. So we're going to label that as a base verb. Okay. Anytime we have a modal, there's only one possible form of the verb that can follow a modal. Okay. You'll find when you yourself are teaching English, if that's what you end up doing, there are very precious few times as a teacher you can tell students, we always do this, and you never do that, because gosh darn it, right? Grammar is messy, and there are like always a million exceptions. So the best you can always say is, we usually do that, or this is better grammar. This is a more formal way of saying it. It's a more polite way. But very few times can we say, in English, you can't do that. Or this is the way. This is one of those few exceptions where you can tell your students, after the modal, you always have a base form of the verb. There's never going to be any other form of the verb. Yay. So there's one rule. We have at least one rule in English that is a nice, solid, strict rule. Okay. So I could go. So again, we said that's a modal. That's a base verb. What is I?
Pronoun.
Pronoun. And the pronoun is going to be all by itself in a noun phrase, right? And because this has a modal, we'll say this is a modal phrase, right? So this is one of those few times where we could, you might have a sentence that's noun phrase plus a modal phrase. Okay, we got a little modal in there. Again, I said normally, right? Normally, most of your sentences will end like this, but you might have the noun phrase with that modal phrase there, kind of being your sentence, just because you have that modal in there. Okay. But most of your sentences will be, But again, you see, even in this example, that's your subject, that's your predicate, subject, predicate. Make a sentence. Your sentence will use your sentence, simple sentences anyway, will have two pieces, subject and predicate. What do we call these things? At, in, by.
Preposition.
There's your preposition. What do you notice follows the preposition? School, the evening, train.
Noun.
They're all nouns. They're all going to be noun phrases. So a prepositional phrase is always a preposition followed by a noun phrase. It can be one noun, at school, by train, or it can be a noun phrase with a determiner and a noun like the evening. Okay, at my, it can have a possessive, at my school, at her school, at the school, at their school. Okay, at the old school. You can throw an adjective in there, but it'll be a noun phrase. It'll be some kind of noun phrase. Always. Okay, I say always, and then you guys are gonna say, I found an example where it's not always. Okay, if there's a preposition and it's not followed by a noun phrase, then that's not a preposition phrase. It'll be doing something else. So we have a preposition phrase, preposition followed by a noun phrase. And they usually tell, what does a prepositional phrase do? It usually tells me where or when or how, right? It gives me that time and place. Most prepositional phrases give me time and place. Sometimes a how. By train with he ate soup with chopsticks. Okay. He went to school on foot. So sometimes it gives me the how. But normally most prepositional phrases are prepositional phrases of time and place. At noon, right? Until 3 o'clock. In the evening. In the summer. Okay. Any questions about prepositions and prepositional phrases?
I have a question.
Shoot.
Okay, when diagramming prepositions, prepositional phrases, and noun phrases, would we include the noun phrase in the prepositional phrase? Like, would the noun phrase be selected and then be included in the prepositional phrase as the subject?
Noun, possessive, preposition. So of course we know this is a noun phrase. These two together, yes. Right?
Yes, that's the correct way.
Yes. Because
Okay.
this is all one piece. We can see that, right? It's very easy to see that that's a piece. That's a chunk of language at my house. Right? Think about if you're confused on the test, you always say, let me try to, right, replace it with something. So if you're saying we studied in the library and you're calling that a prepositional phrase, could I easily replace it with another prepositional phrase? We studied at my house? Yeah. That would make sense. We studied at the dinner table. We studied on the floor. We studied in the car. We studied at the beach, right? You could easily replace it. So we know that this is a chunk. It's one piece, right? And it's made up of the preposition and the noun phrase. Here's a preposition and a noun phrase, right? But it's still one chunk, right? And in fact, we know that it's one piece because we can take out the prepositional phrase and we can replace it with a single word. We studied there, right? Or, I mean, we studied here and there. So you know it's one chunk. If there's ever a question where my phrase is, can you take out that phrase and replace it like this? Then we know, oh, we've got to somehow draw a diagram so that this is one piece together, right? We studied there. Okay. Last one that I got, and then you can ask me if you have any examples of your own. Okay, the last example I thought of. Okay. It. What is it? A, noun. B, pronoun. C, proper noun. D, verb.
Pronoun.
Okay. Pronoun, right? Verb. What was this guy? Who remembers? ING verbs. Okay. Present participle, which I'll write out in case my handwriting is terrible. Okay. Present participle. Okay. Verb. Pronoun. What's this because? Before we get to because, I hope you guys can see that this is a piece. It was raining. If I just had that by itself, could I put a period after it and be done with it and have a correct, complete sentence in English? It was raining. There's a sentence right there. That's a nice, full, complete sentence. But then I had to go and stick this stupid thing in front of it. And if you've ever had a teacher mark your paper in red and say, fragment, not a complete sentence. Why is it a fragment? What did we stuck because there. What kind of word is because?
Conjunction.
It's a conjunction. There are two kinds of conjunctions in English. Do you remember what kind of conjunction this is?
Subordinating.
Subordinate. Because it was raining. If it was raining. When it was raining. After it was raining. Although it was raining. So all of those words like because, although, before, after, while it was raining, those are subordinate conjunctions, right? So if I have a sentence with that, and I know, okay, I have a subordinate conjunction, then that's my subordinate clause, right? If I see that, if you see a phrase like that, because it was raining, although it was raining, after it rained, while he was driving, after she got home, you should go, okay, oh, have a subordinate clause. Where's the rest of my sentence? Because it was raining, who's my creative Somebody's got to be a creative personality, one person in this group. Go ahead.
Carried my umbrella.
What's that?
I carried my umbrella.
Thank you. Okay. If I could spell. Okay. What do we call that piece of the sentence? We can clearly see I have two pieces.
Is it the main clause?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Main clause. So as soon as you see this complex sentence, not a term that will be on the midterm exam, but it has these two pieces, right? And so the end of your diagram, the end of your tree, will show me that we have these two pieces, right? But this is a sentence. I carried my umbrella is a sentence. So again, you're going to have a subject and a predicate. So you know somewhere in here has a noun phrase and a verb phrase. Okay. And you know here we have a conjunction, and after the conjunction, you're going to have a noun phrase and a verb phrase. So I hope you guys can kind of see when we're getting an idea of, we're getting to a point where we can just look at a sentence and start chopping it up and seeing the pieces. So, I hope so anyway. If you start to, even if later you start forgetting the terminology, because obviously by the end of the semester, I don't expect you to remember every single thing we talk about in the semester, but if you have sort of some more, a little better instinct for this, then when you see your students writing and your students are making mistakes, you can quickly see what they're doing. Why did they make the mistake? Where did they put the pieces in the wrong place? Because remember, if you're, especially those of you who are teaching little kids, they haven't fully internalized where to stick all the puzzle pieces. They're learning the language, they're getting the pieces, but they haven't quite figured out how the puzzle pieces fit together. So if you yourself have a better instinct for that, you can say, oh, okay, I need to review XYZ with my students. Now, if you're teaching third grade, you're not going to use the same terminology we're using in this class. Like I teach adults, but we don't go into this complex terminology, right? I know it though. I know it. So when I teach it to them. Okay. Any questions about parts of speech or phrases? So chapters 2 and 3, 4 and 5. Any other examples from homework or a quiz that gave you trouble? Because we're going to go to chapter 6. Chapter 6 is kind of the newest thing. I hope all of you got a chance to kind of look over chapter 6, okay, in the textbook and the PowerPoint and my video. So chapter 6, okay. Chapter 6, we're moving beyond now just saying, oh, this is a verb phrase, this is a noun phrase, this is a prepositional phrase, and we're really looking at noun phrases, okay, most of all, and saying what are those doing, okay? So the main point, the main idea of chapter 6, what is the relationship of each noun phrase in the sentence to the main verb? Because again, we're going to have a verb phrase. Okay, the predicate, what is the relationship of the noun phrase to the main verb and to each other? What's that? The subject, object. Is it the subject or the object? Or there's one more. So we're all, I know you're all familiar with SVO. Okay, so is the noun that again, that's a noun phrase, that's a noun phrase. Is it the subject or the object? We're going to start looking at, was it the direct object or is it an indirect object? Right? And we also have these things called complements, which are also noun phrases. Is it the subject complement or the object complement? So in chapter 6, we're looking at those, what, 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all noun phrases. We've identified them. They're all nouns, whether it's a noun, a pronoun, a proper noun. They're all nouns. What's their role in the sentence? What are they doing? Okay, they're nouns, but what are they doing? Is it the subject or the object, the complement? What's going on? So that's what chapter 6 is about. What is the role of each noun phrase, right? Again, the who or what I'm talking about, is it one of the objects or is it a complement? So there are 5 things you want to look at when you review chapter 6. Okay. So, I mean, the first thing you have to be able to identify the noun phrases. In number 1, how many noun phrases do we have? I see we, right? And rain, the pouring rain. So I see 2 noun phrases. In number 2, what do I got? Nicolas Cage, a proper noun, right? So if you go through, you have to be able to go through the first thing is identify the noun phrases, right? Okay. It can be a pronoun, a proper noun, okay? It could have a determiner like the pouring rain, the roast beef, the best dessert, okay? The way, okay? So everything that you see underlined is a noun phrase. Does anybody have a question about why something is underlined or what is it? Okay. So you can look how if we drew a diagram tree or we labeled it, right? We see all these noun phrases. Okay. Now, step 2, what are they? Okay. We drove through the pouring rain. Okay. Okay. We had these terms come up in chapter 6, transitive, intransitive, or ditransitive. Does anybody want to take a stab at telling me what those words mean? Have any brave volunteer? Which one takes an object? Which one takes a direct object? Oh my goodness, what is that? Okay. Let me do that. Okay. None of these, right? We drove. There's no object. It doesn't say we drove a car or we drove a motorcycle. It's just we drove. We didn't even drive a tractor. We didn't drive anything. There's no object there. Okay, Nicolas Cage is driving. We're not specifying that he's driving anything. Okay, oops, sorry. So that would be intransitive. He's driving, period. There's no object. So the noun phrases we and Nicolas Cage, those are my subject. And I have no object. Questions? Before I move on. But now Brandon sniffed the roast beef. Brandon's mom cooked the roast beef. Okay. A lot of stuff about Brandon. Okay. Number 1 and number 2. He sniffed something and she cooked something. We have an object there. So the verb sniff and cook, would that be transitive, intransitive, ditransitive? It has a direct object. Mhm. Okay. When something has a direct object, it is transitive. Okay. Okay. So then you ask yourself, where's the direct object? It's going to be roast beef in number 1. It's going to be the roast beef in number 2. What about number 3, though? Brandon is a 6-year-old. Okay, Brandon is not sniffing a 6-year-old and he's not cooking a 6-year-old. He's not talking to a 6-year-old. What's going on with Brandon? Brandon is the 6-year-old. Brandon is the subject. The 6-year-old is also Brandon, right? They're the same thing. So in number 3, we have a subject complement. Does everybody see that? Thumbs up. That makes sense. Okay. Subject complement means it's the same thing. Brandon and the 6-year-old, they're the same. Subject and subject complement. Okay. So again, in number 1, the subject is Brandon. Number 2, the subject is Brandon's mom. Number 3, the subject is Brandon again. But in number 1 and number 2, the roast beef is the direct object. In number 3, the 6-year-old is not an object. It's a subject complement. It's the complement. Questions? Concerns? Now I want you to look at these two. We have, after the verb, 2 noun phrases. She made him dessert. He thought it the best dessert ever. We have 2 noun phrases. Uh-oh. So, right, do we have direct object, indirect object, or object complement? Okay. What about number 1? She made him dessert. Oh, somebody fell. She made him dessert. Subject of my sentence, right? Verb. I have 2 objects. Which one is my direct object? Which one is the indirect object? And what's the difference, please? She made him dessert. Which one of these could I change? Could I take out?
She is
And
the
this,
direct object.
what's that?
Is she the direct object?
She
And
is
the rest of the sentence tells you what she's doing?
she is the subject. She's doing the verb.
Okay, then it would be the
Okay.
dessert.
Okay. She's making something. What is she making?
Dessert.
Dessert. So that's my direct object, right? She's not making him. She's not making a boy. She's making dessert. Okay. Why is she making dessert? Okay. Who is she making dessert for? That's your indirect object. Okay. I want you to notice, you know it's an object because it's him. It's an object pronoun. It's not his. It's not he. It's him. So you know it's got to be at least an object. Okay. We know which one's the direct object because if we take out the indirect object, the sentence still has the basic meaning. I don't know why she made dessert or who she made dessert for, but she still made dessert. It still has the same basic meaning, right? So I know that that's got to be my direct object. If I took out dessert, she made him, that doesn't work, right? So we know that that's an indirect object. You can always take out the indirect object and you'll be fine. But if you take out the direct object, you might have problems. She made him, that doesn't work. Okay. Okay. So we know that that's dessert has to be the direct object. Okay. Another way we can tell which one is the direct object, which one is the indirect object, if you reverse it. If you say she made, if she made dessert and you put him over here, what do you have to do to make this a grammatical? You can't just switch it. I need to add a word there. She made dessert him? That doesn't work. Tell me what word. I have to add something. Here. She made dessert for him. If you can flip those objects around, whichever one is going to come after the preposition, that's going to be your indirect object. We can see there's some distance from the making dessert. That preposition is putting some distance from it. Okay. He gave his wife, noun phrase, a gift. Noun phrase, noun phrase, noun phrase. Let's flip them around. He gave a gift his wife. I need something there. I don't like that sentence. He gave a gift his wife. I think we need another preposition, right? So we can see again, that's going to be your indirect object and your direct object. Or in the original sentence, okay. Phrase it like a question. What did he give? What did he give? He gave a gift. That's a direct object. When we ask the other question, who did he give a gift to? Notice I can't even ask the question. I need the direct object in the question. Who did he give a gift to? His wife. I need the direct object in the question. I can't say, who did he give? Who did he give to? Who did he give it to? Who did he give that to? Right? So see, already I know, right? That's got to be my direct object. It's tied closely to the verb. Okay. Any questions about this? Very important on your midterm to determine what's the direct object, what's the indirect object. Okay. The easiest thing to do, if you're not sure, is to do this flipperoo. Flip them around. Which one needs the preposition? Right? And then we know That's our indirect object. All right. Oh, okay. Go ahead, and here's just kind of a quick little review of your parts of speech. Fun little matching. Okay, I've got some words on the left here, and then on the right side, I've got the word classes, our parts of speech. And just to make it tricky, some of the things on the right may be used more than once, and some of them may be not used at all. So I would never do this on the real test, right? On a real test, it'll be 1-to-1, right? A 1-to-1 matching. But here, we can, if you can do this, you got the test. So what do you guys think for, either you can shout it out or you can type it in the chat box. Number 1 is A, B, C, D. What is it? Number 2 is F, G, H. What do we got? If you can get all of these, you'll do good on the test.